Hi everyone, welcome to the last session of ACE 2 Associate Cloud Digital Leader Examination. We are overwhelmed to have you all. Thank you so much for joining in. I see a lot of people are still joining in, but then let's proceed. I hope you all have received your credits. The one who have received the mail, please check in if you have not received the credits. Wait till tonight and then you can shoot a mail to us if you are still not able to get your credits done to those 1300 students whom we have sent the mail. Moving ahead, today we have Ankit Patel with us. So I would like to give the stage to Ankit straightforward to start with the session. Ankit, it would be great if you just start the session. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you so much, Apni, for such lovely introduction. Guys, before we start, let me just introduce myself. I'm Ankit Patel, working as a senior DevOps engineer with the Mindtree Limited, which is basically now called LTI Mindtree. So it's been around 4 to 5 years of journey for me into the GCP, and I'm a Google certified professional where I have multiple certifications in my bucket, and I'm here to guide you and show my skills and to guide you into the GCP certification, how we can achieve and to answer your queries about the Google Cloud Platform as well. And I will put a small demo of the how you can quickly deploy a simple container application over the Google Kubernetes engine, which is a very powerful tool offered by the Google Cloud. So let's just uh, let me present my screen and let's just go. Yeah. Okay. So let's just start. So basically, I'm gonna cover as you can see in the topic section, getting started with the Google Kubernetes engine and how it is used in the industry, and path to the different GCP certification. And at the last of the session, you can shoot a Q&A where I will be helping you out with your basic queries. So before we start, let's just deep dive into the Kubernetes first. As you all aware about the term Kubernetes, as how this came into the picture and how the current industry is utilizing the Google Kubernetes engine. So basically, the Kubernetes simple terms means a helmsman of a ship. So basically, the helmsman is the one who drives the ship, who take it to the shores of the sea. So in the same way, the Kubernetes act as a it places the container over the cluster. It ship those container at the particular node. So it is quite relatively compared to the helmsman of a ship, which is simply like a driver of a car, we can say. So before going deep dive into the Kubernetes, we should understand why we should learn Kubernetes. In order, Kubernetes is simply useful for your certification as well. It is useful when you enter into the IT industry, when you are asked to work into the cloud. So Kubernetes is the basic demand put by the employers to you. So this is simple frankly quote I have put on while I was working in some task, and I found Kubernetes to be like it's like landing on the Pluto while other people are still trying to figure out about Mars. So it's basically it means that if you gain the expertise over the Kubernetes, then surely it's gonna land you to the different level of expertise where nobody gonna stand beyond you. So you should focus more towards learning one skill at a time. So I would suggest that let's before after getting the basics of GCP, you should learn Kubernetes as well as different service, which we're gonna cover. I will show you the hands-on demo as well. I will cover the different take you to the GCP console as well, how you can utilize different services for your use case, for your architecture solutions as well. So basically, we can say the Kubernetes is a cluster management service which is offered by the Google. So so basically Kubernetes is actually developed by the three employees who were working as a summer intern in way back in 2014, where three employee developed this Kubernetes tool as their summer project. And after later of this like this became a huge achievement for those summer interns, and Google recognized that this can be the booster to the IT industry and their tool. So they later this Kubernetes is joined by the Google, and from 2016 they are releasing production grade of version each year. So currently the Kubernetes is running at 1.22 version. So each year they are upgrading and releasing new versions. So that's gonna last very long, I would say, the Kubernetes into the market. So basically it is the cluster management service which is used to deploy your container application in the means we're gonna cover it the very technical level in the later slides. So in the brief term, I would say that it's like one package which is being deployed over the cluster. So that package and deployed over the cluster, and you can access your application over the single IP which is deployed over the Google Kubernetes engine. So like you all must be getting excited, curious to know why industry need Kubernetes, why what is so like how it stands out from the current market, what it offers you as a developer, as an operation engineer, as a cloud engineer. So Kubernetes actually makes your life very easy to work when you are working in a industry, IT industry. So basically, when you will work as a developer or as a DevOps engineer or as a cloud engineer as well, so you will have some environment. So basically, you will have your development environment where you will test your application, you will deploy when everything is working fine over the test environment or the development environment. Then those applications can be deployed over the production environment. So basically, when you are working, let me take you a simple example. When you are working in a test environment, for example, a server called Nginx. So if you are working in a test environment where you have 1.15 version of Nginx, and you have the V1 version of MySQL. So in your test environment, everything is working fine. So you are good to go. Like your application is behaving right, your traffic is fine, everything is working as expected. So you are expecting the same behavior of the application of the in the production environment. So you deployed the same version over the production as well. So once the application is deployed over the production, you must be like this should work extremely uh, as level we expected in the test environment. But what happens at the production level of environment? The application crashes. So basically the reason of crash of that application is like in the slide you can take a simple look at it. Like in the test environment you are working in a different version, in the production you are working in a different version, so that breaks your application. So that's where the Kubernetes comes in picture. So how does it helps how does it helps a cloud engineer, DevOps engineer, or any engineer working in a production grade of environment? So basically before deploying our application over the Kubernetes engine, we will have something called a Docker file. Docker file is something like a simple YAML syntax file which will contain everything which is required by your application. Like it will have uh, the steps which will build the image. So basically we will build the image by Docker file, and the image will contains your application code as well as those dependencies of the application. For example, if you are working in a Java, so it will have something called pom.xml. And if you're working in a um, Python application, it will have requirement.txt file where your dependencies are actually defined. So your application code and dependencies will be wrapped in a simple package, and that package is stored over the GCR, Google Container Registry, which is uh, container registry provided by the Google, where we will store our those images. So those images which are stored at the GCR will be picked up by the Google Kubernetes engine and will be deployed. So that's how it's gonna flow from Docker file to Google Container Registry, Google Container Registry to the our Google Kubernetes engine. So before we dig deep into the Kubernetes, how it goes, let me just take you to the simple, very simple example. We have a cluster at the wider level. In a Google Kubernetes engine, the very first thing comes in mind when we are working into the GKE is the cluster. So cluster is simply a combination of different nodes. So nodes are simply as servers, we can say. So cluster is made up of different type of servers, and basically it contains two type of server. That is, one is called the master server, another one is called as a slave server. So so the master and those slave we can call a worker node. So those servers are called as a nodes in the Kubernetes term. So we call them the master node as well as the worker node. So master node is the one which handles everything over the worker node. Our actual application is deployed over the worker node, where node will contain the pod is simply an entity of our application, which will contains those container which we previously talked about in the GCR registry. So those are applications are actually deployed over those containers. Our microservices are deployed over those containers. So at the broader term, if you get the picture, if you can imagine in a broader term that the cluster have some server have some node pods. Those pod will contain your application inside the container. So that's for loop, those four broader entities which a cluster contains. So that's where we will deploy our application through the deployment file. Deployment file is simply a file which will contains the steps how we're gonna deploy our application over those worker node over the pod of the Google Kubernetes engine. So basically, if you look at this here, so this deployment is simply a, we can say, the kind is the deployment. Like we are we are deploying application. So the kind will be the deployment, as well as we will provide the name, and the replicas is the how many how many I would say how many copies of your applications you want. Like if for example, if I take you to this deployment YAML, here we have something called four replicas. So if one replica goes down, so another replica can help users to access my application. So that is the reason we have defined here the four replicas. So that will actually used when if any application which is deployed over GKE is going down, so other application can serve the traffic. So that is the whole purpose of these. So we don't have to face any downtime here. So and the selector and label are simply to map it to the different service, which we'll cover in the later slide. So this is the service which we talked about. So for example, you will deploy your application through the deployment.yaml file. So that will deploy, actually those replicas are nothing the pod. So that will deploy the four pod over the Google Kubernetes engine. So those four pod will act as a four endpoint to your application. That will have uh, like your four pod will have four external IPs, four internal IPs. Sorry. So those IPs, how will you access? How will you provide that IP to the external user? That you won't be able to provide the four IP, or even if you have 100 of replicas in the deployment file, then you won't be able to provide the 100 IPs to the users, right? So we will need here the something called the service. So service is basically I would say a like the endpoint, or the service is simply act as an endpoint to our all the pod, which will give us a single external IP. So one IP will be served to the users which are accessing my application from outside the cluster. So that one IP will be connected to the all my pods which are deployed over the worker pool. So that's how it's gonna work here. So that one external IP can be very useful for you when you are working in a production grade of environment. So So that is the basic idea about which we discuss how Google Kubernetes engine works and how this can help you to achieve your uh, like uh, business use case when you are deploying hundred of microservices or when you are deploying multiple versions of application. So that Kubernetes engine can quickly scale and quickly scale down based on the traffic as well, and it will also enable us to uh, provide 24 into 7 support where it doesn't offer any downtime even if you're going releasing new version of your application. So that is why I initially spoke about why Kubernetes is the very powerful tool in the market, because uh, in the future there might be some other tool may come, but I think this gonna last very long, this Google Kubernetes engine. So that's very strong and powerful service provided by the Google. You should at least have a good hands-on experience with the Kubernetes, and how you can get the good hands-on experience without getting into the IT industry, so that you can have a working knowledge about how you can showcase your skills. So basically we're gonna cover a simple demo here that you can showcase your in the resume as well, that you can deploy a simple hello app you have deployed simple hello app application over the Google Kubernetes engine. So let me just take you to the uh, demo. So basically, here, this is the cloud skill boost platform. Okay. I'm sure you must be all aware about this because you had multiple session in the past. If you are not, then you are at the right place. I'm going to take you to the everything which you need to crack your Google certification, as well as the prerequisite you should know, as well as the how deep knowledge you should have in order to crack the associate cloud engineer certification. So basically this is the platform provided by the Google partner company of Google. So cloud skill boost.google, so that provide different versions of training here. You can utilize, you can have multiple uh, you can have the learning path of ace here. You will have those training session as well. You can have utilize the demos, you can utilize their labs, which will provide the uh, production level of cloud interface for you. So basically I'm gonna cover you here. So see, it will ask for the credit. You can like avail it when if you are working into this cloud skill boost. You will log in, you will get some credentials as well, so that will have some credit. You can utilize those until and unless you are you can utilize those credit, and those credit can be used here in the accessing any lab. So before you finish all your token or credit which are provided freely to you, by the end of those credit, you will have good hands-on experience with the Google Cloud. So this is the second option. This provide the link to the my GCP console. So this will take me to the console. So this is the username I'm gonna take, and this is the password. So let me just take you quickly go through here. So I have entered my username here. I will take the password as well. So that's it. That's how easy it is to get inside into the GCP without actually registering for the Google Cloud free credit account, where you will have risk of your money as well. So that's how it gonna work. We are into the console now. See, the next window will be of GCP console. You will have you can avail it freely, guys. If you are really interested to learn this GCP part, then that's very how easy it is to get inside the Google Cloud platform. So that's what I love about Google. It's very friendly to use. It provides easy interface as well. So we have to avail some terms and agreement before getting inside. So this is the my project ID. See, guys. So project ID is something which we always need in order to work in any services of the GCP. So project ID is simply in the product term, it will have like all the services can be available inside the project only. So we need to have at least one project when we are working in the GCP console. So that's we can create a project through this new project option which we saw. Here I will provide the project name, I will provide the billing account. We need billing account for this project creation because so that you won't be able to uh, like you must be charged when you are using the GCP. Like you cannot avail freely some resources. So that's how that the first one is the project ID which we need when we are entering into the GCP. So let me take you to the dashboard here as well. If we are talking about the project, so that will contain my simple information my about my project, where I have project name, project number, project ID. That will have my billing account, and it will provide some little descriptions about how I can utilize some GCP services. So let's go inside GCP. So it provide different services, as you all can see here. It provide multiple services for your all business use case. It provide compute services, which will be compute engine, which will be different. You can utilize all the services. If I talk about it will take us around um much more time than our session. So let me quickly take you to the one which we were talking about, the cluster part. So this is the Google Kubernetes engine where you will enter into the cluster. So now I'm inside the Kubernetes cluster, right? The Kubernetes cluster window. So if we are talking about the hands-on lab it provides everything, each and every steps you want to perform in order to complete this lab. So see here, it provide the toggle where we have to toggle in order to access that. It also like the next step which we're gonna do is that we're gonna start with the Cloud Shell. So Cloud Shell is a command line interface provided by the GCP. It will have something like around 5 GB of memory which will be utilized. It is a Linux based machine which will have pre-installed kubectl, cloud SDK, and different versions scaffold, and like it will have all the necessary tools which you need to work. Okay, so this cloud console, a cloud cell, I actually love about it. What actually I love about it, it also provides the cloud editor where I can actually edit my code quickly and I can deploy over any platform, any service over using this cloud shell as well. So that's quite a friendly environment it provides. So the first thing which we're gonna perform in this demo session is the gcloud auth list command. So gcloud auth list command, what will actually it's gonna do, it's gonna authenticate me to use my service account, to use my project. Okay, so here if you can see, so this is my username which I entered initially. So it is authenticating me that I am the student 02 blah 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 username. I'm logging into the GCP console. So the first thing which we need to do, so after authenticating we have to list project. So that's gonna show my project. You can match here, then this is my project ID which we talked about previously. So this is the same ID which I'm gonna just giving you a look. You should also have a good knowledge about this uh, gcloud commands as well, in order to get a good exposure toward GCP. And even in the cloud certification you will need this hands-on experience with the command line interface as well. So the first thing which we're gonna do in this demo is that we're gonna set the reason. So you must all be aware that what is reason, that is simply a geographical location which is all over the world. You will have some data centers that is simply distributed. For example, in if I talk about India, then we have one data center at Delhi and one region at Mumbai. So I'm gonna set this region as a US best one. So the command for this is gcloud config set compute reason us1. So that gonna set my reason as us1. So that's property is updated now. So let me take you to the next thing. So after updating, then we have to also set the zone. So reason zone, these are necessary to work with when you are working with the GCP, because you're gonna charge based on the zone or reason you wanna select. Okay, so that, so US region is quite eco, like we can say quite friendly, quite cheaply as compared to the other region, because the whole infrastructure, main infrastructure of the GCP reside over the US, or in the US. So that's why we have selected the US here. So once we have selected the project ID, zone, region, the next command which you want to use is the how you can create the cluster through the command line. So the command for this is the gcloud container cluster create command. I'm gonna select the machine type, that is the E2 medium 2 machine type. So I have selected the E2 medium machine type here because N1 standard one is not like not supported by when you are creating a Kubernetes engine, because N1 standard type, N1 standard one type is simply a uh, like very small memory. It provide very small memory, which is not enough for the Google Kubernetes engine, because it will need at least two server for to achieve its goal. One is the master, another one is the worker. So I have selected the E2 medium one. The next one I have selected is the zone, and the lab cluster is the my project, my cluster name I have provided. So basically, this is the command I'm gonna use. So yeah. Uh, Okay, so it is now creating the cluster. If you all can see, creating cluster, live cluster in US based one. So it's creating cluster. It will appear here in some time. So for the time being, let me take you to the console of GCP, where we will have how we will utilize this for our certification. Okay, guys. So if I talk about the compute services it provide, there are multiple of services Google provide. So the first one is the VM instance inside the compute. Okay, so VM instance, as you all must be aware, it is like it is a compute service where that will help me to achieve my goal. VM is simply a virtual machine that will have more control towards like a whole infrastructure as a service. It is called a IaaS service, where I have to set up the whole infrastructure. I have to maintain my BPC network, firewall rules. I have to configure the load balancing, auto scaling. So that's whole hell lot of headache if you wanna use this service. So the same for the same purpose, you can have different services, like you have Cloud Run, that is also used as a container service provided by the GCP for your I would say for your simple workload. It's for container application. The same Kubernetes engine that is also used for those container application, but those Kubernetes engine can contain complex applications of your use case, while Cloud Run is for some basic container in website, we can say for some basic purpose we can use the Cloud Run. So after that, it also provides the cloud storage service, which will used as a storing of our different object-based data. Okay, so that's how cloud storage can be used to store our different object-based, uh, like I would say, to object versioning of those data. Yeah, you will have more control. You can actually based on the use case of your application, how frequently you gonna use that data. Based on that, Google gonna charge you. It provide standard nearline, cold line, as well as the archival level of storage, which is based on the timeline. Like standard is the one which will use the more frequent data, hot data, which is used by your application on a day-to-day basis, while the another one, the code line and the archival one, can be used for a backup recovery, where we will have control over, like we won't be accessing those data around 90 days or 365 days. So based on the use case or of our application or our use case, we can use the type of storage, how we going to utilize this. It also provides the BigQuery as a service. This is a data warehousing service which will help you to query your multiple MySQL query. It will it is simply a data warehousing service where, like, you don't have to like in the in the past, people used to maintain the data center, data warehouse. To maintain the data warehouse, they need some people, so that is a whole headache. So now Google has simply a BigQuery, which is a data warehousing as service, where we, by the use of MySQL queries, we can scale inside of those data which is inside the data warehouse. So that will used by the data scientists as well as the data analytics team. So that provide various use cases as well. So like if I take you to specific to the your ACE certification, you will have to more focus toward the networking side, compute side, storage side. While you should have you like ACE certification exam cover around 40 to 45 services, where you will have a good hands-on experience as well as good knowledge about those services, how they're gonna utilize by the GCP, and how you can utilize those services for your use case. Okay, so yeah, so our cluster provisioning is still going on. It takes lots of time to provision the cluster, so let it to complete. For the time being, we will cover the BPC network. So for the BPC, if I talk about the BPC network, so BPC is simply a virtual private network provided by the Google Cloud Platform, where I can host my application inside this VPC, so that my outer world cannot access it. So, okay, so that is the whole purpose. That will outer attack. It will provide me from any zombie attack, any attack which my application exposes to. So that this is the very useful service, where it will actually provide me my private network for my applications. So it will have something called firewall rules. So firewall rules are something which will actually help you to filter out or that will actually help you to filter out your incoming traffic to your application as well as the outgoing one. So you can use different port for this. You could see here, if you can see here, so here that this TCP 10225 port is exposed here. So you can expose to your port using this firewall rules. So that's how you wanna create. You're gonna provide name. You're gonna provide the network. We can create a network as we saw. So the purpose of this firewall, we can define it whether it is a ingress or egress. Ingress is the traffic which is coming into my application. Egress the traffic which is going out of my application. So that's how it's gonna work. We can define some target here. We can define the source range. Source range is simply the type of IP address it's gonna take. So that's how that's like you can get a good hands-on experience when, if you try to access the cloud skill boost which we are trying to access here. So you should have basic knowledge about those networking service as well. So this is the BPC network pairing, which is used to connect my, when you are working in a IT industry, there are actually multiple projects inside your organization. So uh, those projects appeared through the just BPC network pairing. Okay, so that's a lots of things inside this. So let me take you to the different services, different service now. Okay, let's talk about the cloud function as well. If you are talking about the PPC network, so basically, we spoke about the compute instance. So those compute instance is the like a compute engine virtual machine are the infrastructure as a service, right? Where you have to manage whole infrastructure, those firewall rules, those you have to create your own private network. You have to maintain the load balancing. You have to maintain the auto scaling. So that's a hell lot of headache. So the the another service which Google provide that I like about the service is it is very lightweight. You just have to it just quickly help us to deploy our simple application using cloud function we can deploy, and we don't have to manage anything. That is wholly a serverless like serverless service provided by the GCP, if you can say. So the whole like the whole purpose of cloud function is for it is used for a event driven function. Okay, so let's talk about that later, because we have time running out. It's 12 minutes left for this lab to finish out, so it provides a very less time. Like you have, it provides around time based labs. You have to finish in that time in order to access that. So okay, fine. So we have created the cluster. If you can see, our cluster is created. So after our cluster is created, we have to connect our cluster to the if we are accessing our clusters, we have to connect it. So that's the connect command we receive from the cluster. So we have to pick that command. So see, I get inside the cluster, I took out the command, and now I'm running this command. So I'm connected with the cluster. See here, fetching cluster endpoint. It has authenticated, and it has generated some queue config, that is the authorization. So I'm authenticated with the cluster. So now I'm gonna deploy a simple application to the cluster. That's a very simple one. So let's take this. We're gonna create this. So it's simply creating the deployment file. You can work with the cluster in two ways, that is imperative as well as the declarative. So we are working imperative command. Declarative is the one which has those YAML file declarative syntax. So we are creating through the command line for our demo purpose. So this is kubectl, kubectl, create deployment. We are creating a deployment of hello server. The image is the GCR registry. It is picking up from there. See here, gcr.io. So I'm just deploying this image over my GCP, over my Google Kubernetes engine. The image is the one, this one, which we previously talked about, the GCR image, which have my application code as well as those dependencies. So I have created the deployment. I can verify my access. Yeah, my deployment is created. I have created the deployment. So once the deployment is created, I have to create the service. So service is basically nothing. Uh, yeah. So what is service? Service which we talk about, it provides like uh, endpoint to my application, multiple pod, multiple things. So it will give us the one endpoint to access my application. So the command which we want to use is kubectl expose deployment. We have in the previous command we use kubectl create deployment. Now we're going to use a kubectl expose deployment. And type is the type of service. So it is a load balancer service. This load balancer service is simply a Google native's load balancer which loads my application. It provides the those like it provides a Google native load balancer to my application, and the port which I'm exposing my application to is the 8081. So I'm gonna hit enter. So if you all can see here, my service is being exposed. Okay, so now my service is exposed. How I'm gonna see here, this is my service, load balancer service. This is my hello server, type is load balancer. IP is the cluster IP, and external IP it gonna provide within the few minutes, which I'm gonna show you how you can access this. I can like now anyone in the world can access my application through this cluster external IP. Okay, so I'm gonna hit enter again. It is again in the pending state. So that take quite a few minutes to provision the external IP. See here, my external IP is provision. So external IP is provision. Now I should be able to access my application. What do you think, guys? Will I be able to access this? See here. Oh, my application is deployed. Hello world. It is showing the version. It is showing the host name, the host server. It is actually deployed. Wow, we have just deployed an application within a couple of minutes, guys. What? How powerful this Kubernetes is. So, uh, let me just quickly give you what pod I was talking about. So this is the pod. This is the actual pod which I was talking about previously. This is my server where my application are hosted. See, this is the same, right? It is at the running state, and we have deployed one replicas. Replicas which we talk about in the PPT. If you define the replica as a three, then it will have three by three, right? And if any replica is down, any pod is down, any server is down, so it will show 3 by 2. If two server is down, it will show 1 by 3. So that's how it's gonna work. My application is gonna work anyhow, right? If anything is going wrong, my another replica gonna serve the purpose until or unless I will fix the default one. So that's how it's gonna work, right? So we have deployed this. That's very great of you guys. You have deployed a simple application within a couple of minutes. So if you have any question, you can shoot me out. So one more thing you have to keep in mind before working into the uh, Google Kubernetes engine or while provisioning those cluster, if you are working in your free tier GCP's Google account, then you have to actually delete this cluster as well, because that's gonna charge you very much, because as we saw previously, this is E2 machine type, guys. But don't forget to clean up your environment when you are done with the anything, when you're done with your purpose, like when you are done with your uh, labs. In the labs you don't have to delete it, but when you are working in your own account, logging in your through your own account, you have to delete, because that's gonna charge you. So that's how the Google Kubernetes engine gonna work. So guys, we're gonna end this lab here. So we'll provide this rating as 5. So we are done here, right? So let me just quickly take you to this quick lab which check skill boost provided by the Google as well. So it will provide when you are selecting a path, right? See here, cloud digital leader learning path. It will have cloud engineer learning path. Every path is provided here. You can utilize those. You can utilize uh, those path as well. You can utilize freely available content. You can utilize any, like you have internet. You have like at your fingertips. All the information is available. So you should focus on GCP exposure to the different services. So how we gonna take the question? If you have any one, guys, if you have any question, you can shoot out to me. Okay, sorry, I missed those question. Yeah. Uh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Credit is for GCP Labs. Yes, correct. Correct, Abhishek. You are right. And Parth is saying, can anyone tell me about credit? So credit are simply I would say GCP based money where you can utilize those to access those labs as well as to access those learning path.
All right. Continuing with what Ankit said, you must have received the credit, still not. If not, then please wait. I guess it is on the process from cloud team, so you will be receiving it by the end of the day. Some have received, some have yet to receive. And then thank you so much, Ankit, for the sessions. We are open for the questions, guys. Please free to drop your questions in the comment section.
Uh, yes, Soil. In ACE examination, you don't have
So
to
a
perform
student,
any labs. You don't have to perform any labs. That will exam will contain around 50 to 60 MCQs, and you have to perform some like you should have basic knowledge about those services. That will be multiple choice question. It will have a single answer as well. That will have multiple answers as well. Yeah, guys.
I guess the quiz will be live tomorrow or day after. You guys will be receiving mails. But then I would request you all to start first with the labs of the skills boost profile, because then that is important to be done. There is a question where a student is asking about the Kubernetes versus Dockers, if we can answer this.
Mm, Kubernetes versus Docker Compose, both are same na, used for container orchestration. Very, very good question, Hariom. I really appreciate this question. Yes, Kubernetes as well as Docker Compose, both are simply like now Docker Compose is used for those Docker images, specifically those Docker images, as well as with the use of Docker Compose, you can deploy all your images in a quick in a single click, while the like if via Docker Compose you won't be able to actually manage the services. You won't be able to you don't be won't be able to configure those services based on your use case. So I would say uh, that is Docker based and provided by the Docker, while while the Kubernetes engine is a I would say cluster based service that will provide the Docker runtime environment for us, where we can quickly deploy our applications. So basically, you will have more exposure. You will have more authority over the Kubernetes engine, as well as some security point of view also comes in picture. That is another thing to look at. Labs completion will take time. Till when we need to complete labs? I think when you have credit in your hand in your GCP account, you can access those.
Yeah, and
I think
then you
Avni
can
can
take
answer.
your time. Yeah, you can take your time, guys. Feel free to take your time, since we know that this is a hard this quest the quest will be definitely hard. So feel free to have everything and then go on with the other things.
Okay. So RAML file. Uh, RAML file. I'm not aware about RAML file. I am aware about the YAML file. That is simply, I would say, those like it is a scripting based something, and that will have the all the steps defined in a way where you will define some jobs. You will have those inside the jobs will have some steps that will perform the declarative approach used by the yeah, in the YAML. And if I'm not for the RAML, we will have predefined parameters which we can use in the RAML file. Is this cloud session? Just a second. Is this a cloud shell accessing the VM in the GCP using SSH? No, no. No, Sajal. Cloud shell is not being accessed through the SSH. That is a command line interface. That is a server provided by the GCP inside which we can access. That is simply a virtual machine. Those compute engine virtual machine. That is a virtual machine. 5 GB of storage it provides. It's not compulsory to have CDL certification. See guys, uh, if you are not if you are not certified ACE certified, I would suggest before going to the CDL you should attempt ACE certification, because that will have that will actually enhance your GCP knowledge. So Hariom has one more question. How Kubernetes and Docker related? Very nice question. Very good. See, okay. So basically, Kubernetes is the container runtime environment, right? Those Docker environment it provides. By the Docker is the utility or the tool to build the images. I can build the images, store in the GCR registry, and deploy over the Kubernetes engine. So Kubernetes engine is the Docker runtime, while the Docker is a tool to build my images. So Docker is simply a like Docker is another technology in the whole that is very vast topic as well. But we can, for the quick means, I can say we can create Docker images and deploy over the Kubernetes. How much required? How much Linux required for Kubernetes? Okay, very nice, Jisayad. Uh, for uh, for Kubernetes, you should have the basic knowledge of Linux, guys. There's no need of any expertise or to gain the higher level of expertise. Just you should have the basic knowledge how Linux works, how those command line will work, so at least you will be able to troubleshoot when anything is going wrong, right? So you should have the basic knowledge of those uh, Linux. Which learning path should be followed for ACE certification? Okay, so the learning path which I already shared you, the you can follow the labs of the skill boost, and when you are applying, when you are actually registering for the ACE certification, you will get the mail confirmation. You will also get the learning path if you are applying through some learning partners as well. So if you are applying through the learning partners, you will get the learning path of those any certification which you are applying to, that will have the Google provided mentors, that will have Google provided those learn tutors which will help you to gain very good knowledge into the GCP.
Vishaka, I have already shared the link of the learning path also, so you can directly access to that link too.
Hari Om, very nice question. Just how much pod can be inside a single node? Is there any limitations? No, Hari Om. There's no limitations. It will have like based on the type of machine type you have used as well as the memory available. If my node memory is getting uh, utilized, like whole my memory is already being utilized, so my pod won't get scheduled. So based on the my node memory and an n number of pod I can schedule over the node. Yeah, Hemanta, security service is, if I talk about security service, Google provide IAP, that is identity aware proxy. Google provide cloud armor, that is a policy based service. So there are multiple services which Google provide as for to secure your applications, uh, which we can actually use that. For example, if I'm using the cloud armor, so I have to create one policy that these and these people can access this. And if I'm using the IAP, that is identity aware proxy, then I have to uh, provide some permissions in order to enter in my GCP, in order to access my applications. So based on the use case, I will be using the certification security services as well. Coming from Windows, will it be difficult to master Kubernetes which use Linux? Ankit Rai. Yeah. So coming from Windows, see guys, I'm also coming from Windows only. There's nothing that you cannot do. Okay, and for Kubernetes, you don't need to master Linux, right? You just have to get the basic understanding how deployment, how things working inside the cluster, and to have some those basic knowledge of Linux, like how to use the grep command, how to use the tail command, how to cd into the directory, how to access those memory utilization, CPU utilization, where my application is crashing. I need to find if multiple pods are running, where which pod is failing. So you can use the ps command. So depending on the use case, you should have at least basic knowledge of those server maintenance commands as well as those directory commands. Just basic knowledge you need. You don't need to master into the Linux. Can you tell me about the question in the core? Where do we practice this, and only skill boost labs will be okay? See, labs are for your hands-on practice to get the good understanding of the GCP environment, how it works. Like previously, I showed you in the demo as well, where you can create those VPC network, how you can configure the firewall rules to your VPC network. So that gonna actually link your understanding to the different level. You can clear your certification by just going through those learning path as well. But if you want to be a good techie, if you want to be a good cloud engineer or any DevOps engineer or data engineer or developer, so you should have a hands-on knowledge as well. So you can utilize the cloud labs, those cloud skill boost labs for your hands-on practice. Can I use Kubernetes with Google App Engine? No, Savaj Khan. Kubernetes is a different service. Google App Engine is a different service. So both are different. We cannot use. How many attempts do we have for complete the certification? You will get two attempts in order to complete your certification. If you are not able to clear in the first attempt, you will get the second attempt also. So but try to attempt it in the first, like try to clear it in the first attempt, because uh, it's not so difficult, guys. Just get the basics right, and you will be able to do it.
Adding to what Ankit said, you will be getting the voucher for the one attempt only. So this
Oh.
$125 voucher, which where you can access this exam free, will be the one time use. So then for the other one, either you have to pay or you have to wait for 60 days. So please make sure you guys are clearing it in first attempt only.
Yes, why Kubernetes preferred over the App Engine? Okay, so see, Kubernetes is a cluster container orchestration tool, right? Like we created from the Docker file to Docker image, and Docker image to the deployed over the pod. So this Kubernetes is a different service, App Engine is a different service, Firebase for microservice is a different service. So if you want to deploy your application as a container application where you don't want your application to face any downtime, you want your application to be 24 into 7 available, and you want your application to quickly release the new version without any effect of the deployment. So you can use Kubernetes. While the App Engine is different service, which is actually more towards hosting your website for some particular period of time, or like that simply utilizes like less memory, or as well. That is not App Engine is not preferred for the complex applications, and neither any container orchestration container applications can be deployed over the App Engine. Thank you, Ankit. Thank you so much. Waiting for my coupon. Is Python network not necessary for the cloud jobs? SG, right. Very good question. Is Python language and networking knowledge is necessary for the cloud jobs? I would say partially, yes. That you should have at least one very good one programming language knowledge that can be either Python or any Node.js or Java. You should at least, but I would suggest if you are having good hands-on with the Python, then you are rock star already. And networking knowledge, yes, you will need some basic knowledge to for in order to get inside the cloud job. But that's not necessary to get a job, but you will require in order to work inside the cloud. Yeah. So Python. I should also suggest you guys to get a good get your hands dirty over the Python. But if you are entering into the cloud, then Python gonna help you, like make your life easier. Is replica set mention? I lost the question. Is replica set mention the number of pods and number of nodes in Kubernetes? Is replica set mention the number of pods? No, replica set is used to have how many pods you want over the cluster, over the node. Replica set doesn't define the node, how many node you want. Replica set is like the how many pod you want, how many server you want. That's it. Do we need to have code or network knowledge to understand GC native and develop a container app? Do we need to have good understanding of Docker file? Okay, Nagesh, uh, you don't you don't have to gain expertise in order to get certified. And secondly, yeah, you will need to require the networking knowledge. Those like if you are deploying the load balancer, then you should have the knowledge of those whole several networking layer, right? So yeah, networking knowledge is required to get inside the GCP. And next question is to deploy the containerized lab. Do we need to have the good understanding? No, not really. But if you are working as a DevOps engineer, you will have to understand the Docker file, how it is working. Because see, what actually, how if you are working into the cloud, how things gonna work. You will be the first point of contact to the application team. Application team will provide you the application code as well as those dependencies. Then your work starts from there. You will have to bind that application code as well as dependencies over a single package. And that package which we talked about previously will be stored over the GCR registry, that is the image, and those images will be deployed over the Kubernetes engine. So yes, you will require the knowledge of Docker file, how we do build Docker file, how do we tag Docker file, how do we push, pull, whole lots of stuff. Uh, yeah, Siddhant Aryal, if possible, I request to have more session for Ankit. Guys, you can connect me over LinkedIn. I would be happy to answer all your queries or your technical queries, and I would be happy to help you guys. Uh,
Also, we will try to get Ankit back someday before your
mm,
sessions. Like we will try our
surely,
best
guys,
to get
surely.
Ankit. But then yes, Ankit have multiple commitments and deadlines with work. So we need to check once with Ankit on same. But yeah, you
Okay,
guys can
guys.
connect on LinkedIn with Ankit.
Okay, guys, if you have any more question, you can shoot out. And if you have, apart from, like, if you want to connect to have any technical technical discussion, then I would love to connect with you over the LinkedIn as well. You can connect me over the LinkedIn. I would be happy to guide you
Sure,
further.
I'm dropping Ankit's profile in the chat. Just wait a minute.
Okay, guys. Uh, if you don't have any questions,
Yes, I guess we can wrap the session, Ankit, now. Everyone, for all the queries, you will be receiving a mail by tomorrow with all the updated timelines. You have a plenty of time to cover all the learning paths, and then meanwhile you can prepare for the quiz also. We will be having the quiz one soon. Quiz one will be on the Google form consisting of 5 to 15 questions. Similarly, those who will qualify the quiz one will be getting the quiz two with 5 to 10 questions in that, and the one who qualifies the quiz two will be receiving the vouchers. But then this is a long way, so you can start with the learning path. If you guys have any queries to solve with Ankit, I have dropped his LinkedIn profile in the chat box. I am dropping the LinkedIn profile again. Please feel free to connect with Ankit or with Hack the Skill anytime. You can drop your queries as acehelp at the rate hacktoskill.com. Also, the queries will be resolved by the tech support of ACE team. All right, then. Thank you so
uh,
much for this session. It was really, really, really great to have you.
thank you, Avni. And I wish you all the very best. All of you, everyone who joined this session, as well as who missed to join this session. And I wish you all the best to clear your certification in the first attempt. And yeah, just go get inside the cloud. It's very, very fun, guys. And just see you some other day as well.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Ankit.
Thank you, everyone.